Again, it ain't ARPANET. It's not a bunch of academics at Yale or Stanford anymore. Or the University of Illinois, where the Netscape browser was invented. Y'all too young for Netscape. That was the browser. That was the Google Chrome of the initial World Wide Web access for the general public. Netscape was it. Netscape dominated. And then it got knocked off by, ready for this? Those of you who know the history of the internet and web access know. Netscape got knocked off by Microsoft and Internet Explorer. Worst thing that happened to the web. But it happened because Microsoft jumped on it and then promptly forgot about it. They beat the pants off Netscape, and then they promptly forgot about just how dominant, because they got fat and happy, said, we rule the world with our IE browser. That's right. We're going to make everything conform to IE standards. You will make your website compatible with IE and nothing else. First, there was Firefox, the humble little open source browser that could. Then there was Opera, built to different standards. But it was like, oh my God, it's got options that you never can have in IE. Then Sergey Brin and the folks over at Google said, we got this great search engine. We should try to leverage this into other areas. How about we come up with our own web browser and put our search engine right in it? Fat and happy Microsoft, we don't care. We're on the browser wars. So Firefox, start getting more users. You're worried about, that's open source. Those are a bunch of geeks. They don't care about profit or anything. Yeah, forget about it. Yeah, but I hear that Google, they're a search engine. Who cares? They're just a freaking search engine. We'll put their search engine out of business with ours. We'll do Bing. I'll show them. We'll see your Chrome and raise you a Bing. Has anybody used Bing for a search lately? Has anybody ever used Bing for a search? Even when they were offering you financial incentives to use Bing, did you ever use it for a search? That's okay. Neither did I. Microsoft is so. You know what it is? Okay. And when MP3 players became all the big rage, where the first MP3 players are by companies that you probably never heard of again. And I'm struggling to remember those companies because it's been so long since I've had to think about this. I could go back and look it up. But I just realized MP3 players is a perfect example. Because Apple did not create the MP3 player market with the iPod. What it did was it came out with the best, by far, the best designed, most intuitive, and most commodious with storage MP3 player, and blew everybody out of the weeds because of their high standards. And that's what blew Creative, who makes your Sound Blaster cards. If anybody uses Sound Blaster cards anymore, I don't think so. It's all built-in audio, motherboard audio. So now they're doing these external DACs to try to make up for the market. Just plug your gaming device, plug your PS4 into our new DAC, and you'll have amazing surround sound. Because we can't sell sound cards to the PC manufacturers anymore, or as add-ons. My computer, you can't even open the expansion slot without wrecking your machine to add a sound card. In the old days, you could, they used to have expansion slot covers that would slide in and out, so you could add that Sound Blaster Audigy card and have 7.1 surround sound, added to your PC, 24-bit 192K audio, added to your PC with that Sound Blaster Audigy card that costs less than $100. And if you decided to sell the machine later, you could take that Sound Blaster Audigy card out, pop the expansion card slot cover back in, and sell it pristine. No problem. This machine, you have to maim it to open up one of those expansion slots to make it available for adding anything, sound card, whatever, a second video card, you have to maim the machine. I mean, literally have to wreck it because the expansion card slot cover does not slide in and out. You have to tear it out, literally, in order to make it work. That's what we're at. That's where we're at these days. But anyway, MP3 players, when the iPod came along, blow everything away because nobody was, prepared for it. They had these cheap little players that you could buy. There were a couple of boutique companies that made an expensive player, and they were interesting, but they were ridiculously expensive. Apple came out with a design that made those look ridiculous, and yet their prices, they weren't cheap. The iPods were not cheap, as you remember, but because of their design, because of the quality, it's like, why would you spend $250 on that piece of crap when this elegant iPod was the same price, had more storage, and was built better? You felt like it was going to last longer, and it did. That's how Apple does its thing. And eventually, the other players just dropped out of the market. Apple was like Google and Chrome. And Google, the Chrome is now the dominant browser because Microsoft got fat and happy. Apple didn't get fat and happy with the MP3 player, the iPod. They moved on. They suddenly, when the smartphone market began and you had the first Android phones, Apple turned their iPod into the iPhone. You could have a smartphone that could play MP3 files, except they weren't MP3 files, because if you bought them through the iTunes store, they had to be protected AAC files. See, Apple was so smart up to a certain point and in certain areas, but they are also being insidious on the other side by continuing with this closed system. Again, back to the split between Jobs and Wozniak. Wozniak wanted openness, expandability. He wasn't, talking about because Apple briefly, after they both were gone, experimented with making Mac OS available to other manufacturers, making it, and then that quickly, when a couple of manufacturers made better Mac clones than Apple was making Mac, they retreated quickly. Oh, we can't allow that. Oh no, we gotta maintain control. Because there were a couple, I forget who the manufacturers were. And back in the Mac clone days, that brief, glorious period, those machines were clearly superior and they were cheaper. That's what frightened the pants off Apple. It's like, oh my God, they can see that the emperor is naked. Because look what these other guys are doing. It's faster, better built, and it's cheaper. Nope, gotta pull it back. Gotta pull it back. Keep it in-house. And there went your Mac clone business. With browsers, it's been Chrome for a long time, but Chrome is getting fat and happy, and it's, people are starting to look elsewhere. A rejuvenated, revived Firefox, Mozilla, and their open source browser that could. They have been making something of a comeback. They're still a little sluggish for my tastes overall, but I've always been a Firefox advocate ever since it first came along. And I use Chrome for my shows, but I use Firefox for just about everything else, although I'm finding myself using Chrome more for everything, which goes against what I was saying about, Chrome and its dominance. However, because websites are now built to Chrome standards versus the old IE standards, there are times when you have to use Chrome. There are still those occasional websites out in the wild somewhere where you might need an Internet Explorer, which is why Microsoft Edge still, Windows still has option for using Internet Explorer View in Edge for those oddball websites that are still out there. I don't know how much longer that's going to be available. I'm surprised that it's still available, frankly, but it's still there. It's still there. Internet Explorer is still buried deep within your Windows 10 machine, believe it or not. It's just, leave it there. Don't let it out.